not going to have Trevor Lawrence on the list for the same reason. Trevor just turns the ball over too much, and he's very streaky. He wasn't very good to start last year. He was red hot to end it. Then he goes home, playoff game against Buffalo, and there's nothing. I don't know what I get week to week. Liam Cohen essentially saved his career. And I was the world's biggest Trevor Lawrence fan. And another guy...
All right. There was nothing in that playoff game. I mean, I don't know about that. Jacksonville Jaguars fans, you guys know I love to talk about you and make videos about this. So I'm going through the other list. I made a whole top 10 list, but I really want to highlight Trevor Lawrence here because I've got some thoughts. These are the quarterbacks who missed the cut: Dak, Jaden, Jalen, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, Baker Mayfield. And Trevor is actually the most interesting one for me. Trevor is the most interesting one for a collection of different reasons that I really want to discuss. But I want to bring up that this is the top 10 list that Colin has. So before we jump into it, before we do a nice little deep dive, because we know no one else is really talking about the Jaguars, please, Jags fans, don't forget to watch the full length of the video and subscribe. When you guys do that, views go through the roof. Subscribers go through the roof. And you know, it's not just about views. It's not about subscribers. Obviously, I want all the views and subscribers I can get. I know I always have to kind of give this message to Jags fans, and I do apologize for it, but it's just that Jags content, and some other teams, can be so hit or miss. And I just want to be able to make a Jags video right now and have people genuinely watch it so we can discuss it, so we can have real honest grounded discussions about this, because I think there are really interesting topics to discuss and narratives to break down. And it's not the easiest thing right now to make a Jaguars Trevor Lawrence video, but I'm still doing it, right? I'm still going up against it. So you guys watching the full video, you guys subscribing and watching at the same time, it goes such a long way. I'm optimistic that we're going to have a really interesting conversation here. So let's jump into it. I'm not going to unpack last season too much, okay? I'm not going to unpack that too much. I'm not going to say, oh, he showed up in the final 8 games or whatever, he had 15 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, right? I don't think that even matters in this moment right now, because in a big game against, say, the Denver Broncos, I saw what he did. I saw that offense, and it was awesome, and I saw how prepared they were. That stood out to me more than anything. I remember breaking down a clip of what they did, how they all rushed to the line very quickly and were able to get a playoff win, and just how locked in and prepared they were. Receivers understanding when to come back toward Trevor. They were just so dialed in and detail-oriented. And that is Liam Cohen. And it was a great playoff game. They've got Josh Allen, you've got Josh Allen. Josh Allen is elite. Josh Allen is special. Josh Allen is unbelievable. You've got Josh Allen. You absolutely just have Josh Allen. And that's okay. That is okay. But that doesn't make it an indictment of Trevor Lawrence. But, and I don't put this all on Trevor's shoulders, Trevor has not quite lived up to who he was supposed to be as a quarterback. And again, I'm not saying it's because he's just not good enough. It's like we know, Jags fans especially know, right? It's been a bit of a journey with what that team has been trying to build, the coaching staffs they've had, right? Things have been a little loose down in Jacksonville. But if we look at these quarterbacks who missed the cut, you'd say Trevor Lawrence has the most complete package. If we look at the attributes, physicality, size, strength, arm talent, all that type of stuff, you'd say out of all those quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence has that, right? Bigger, stronger than Jaden Daniels, right? Has a longer runway ahead of him than Dak Prescott. There's the sense that Jalen Hurts is declining, like Colin said, he's got 0 momentum. Baker Mayfield has a nice little bite, but he just is who he is. But then you combine that with coaching. To me, what makes it the most interesting is that out of these quarterbacks right here, Trevor has the coach that I trust and love the most. I am a massive Liam Cohen fan. And I've said this a lot. I'm not saying he's necessarily the best coach in the NFL, that's Andy Reid. And you could say that Sean McVay is obviously more experienced and ahead of him. But if I had to choose to play for a coach right now, especially as a quarterback, Liam Cohen is really at the top of my list. Really at the top of my list, because I love his personality. I love his approach. I love the culture. I love how he gives you room to breathe. I love Ben Johnson. I would struggle to play for Ben Johnson. I've had a lot of coaches over my life, so I have a pretty good idea of what coaches I can be and the type of coach I want to be to other people. And again, I think Ben Johnson is absolutely positively brilliant. I would genuinely struggle to play for him, and I would absolutely thrive with Liam Cohen. And I think that bodes so well. So I think the future is so incredibly bright. And if we look at all of these quarterbacks right now, and again, I've already made other videos about Jaden and Jalen, this is a different conversation. This isn't just purely which quarterback is better. You have to factor in team. You have to factor in coaching, etc., right? Jalen Hurts can absolutely ball out with Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore, their offensive coordinator, could get a head job and go somewhere else. And then we start this journey all over again. Jaden Daniels just hired another offensive coordinator as well, a guy who has never coached. He was like an assistant quarterback's coach. What's that going to look like? No idea. The most continuity we have on this list is Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur. And I'm going to make a Jordan Love, Matt LaFleur video as well, because the way I look at it right now, and I kind of see Jordan Love and Trevor Lawrence as being able to make very similar videos, is that it is time now to become that quarterback that you could never dream of leaving off this list. The kind where you say, well, of course we know they're top 10, right? Even if you want to put them in the Jared Goff, Sam Darnold tier, even if you don't want to put them top 3, top 4, top 5, whatever. But it's time for Trevor Lawrence and Jordan Love, and right now we're focused on Trevor, to be firmly rooted as, yeah, Trevor and Liam are going to ball together, because I believe in Liam Cohen that much. And so I believe that development is still going to happen, and as long as they have a good enough roster, a lot of damage will be done. It's time for that to really take root, to really feel like you're starting to accomplish and become the quarterback that Trevor was perceived to be and predicted to be. You absolutely positively have the coach to make that happen. The rest will be on the Jags to make sure they support the roster. But we should see way more moments of greatness. Even if, for whatever reason, the season unfolds over this year or the next few years and they don't quite have the right cast, the right running game, the offensive line, whatever, we should still see greatness. We should still see moments where we say, wow, this Jags team had nobody, and yet they still won 11 games. That's what happens when you have Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence, right? One of those takes where Colin just goes on and says, see, when you have the coach and the quarterback, you can still make the playoffs. And again, I'm not saying that's who the Jags are right now. I'm saying that's who they should be, even in years when the team isn't necessarily a Super Bowl contender. And it's time that when you do have an awesome roster, an elite offensive line, an elite receiver, an awesome running game that sets up the passing game, it's time to ball. It's time to have Jared Goff seasons. Because say what you will about Goff, he's balled when the team around him has been presented. Sam Darnold did exactly what he needed to do to win a Super Bowl. He executed perfectly. Was he the perfect quarterback last year? No. But he was awesome. So I look at it like this. Now Sam Darnold loses his coordinator, Clint Kubiak. Jared Goff has now lost Ben Johnson. We saw what that looked like with another coordinator, then they fired that coordinator, now they're getting another coordinator. People predict the offensive line is going to get worse. What's that going to look like for Goff? People see Lamar declining. Mahomes potentially declining. Stafford is on his way out, Stafford is on the brink of retirement. Burrow can't stay healthy. Those are obviously not opinions, those are just facts. So then it's time for Trevor to be like, bro, I'm in my prime. I'm physically right there. I'm not 35. I'm not always banged up. I have an awesome coach. I have a smart young GM who's trying to make moves and be aggressive. It's time to really enter the equation, really enter the conversation, to make these conversations feel more difficult. Put it this way, I made this video covering the whole top 10, and then I broke down different individual quarterbacks with regard to it. And the reality is, and this is just the reality, I'm being honest, this is the benefit of doing this and covering all the teams and not just hyper-focusing on one team. No one is really making a big issue out of Trevor Lawrence not being top 10. People are talking about Dak. They're talking about Jordan Love. They're talking about Jalen. They're having debates about Jared Goff or Sam Darnold. No one is saying, I can't believe Trevor Lawrence isn't there. It's just not a common conversation right now. Some Jags fans, absolutely. But the general fans, the fans watching all the games, just big football fans, they're not saying, I can't believe Trevor's not there. How disrespectful. It's just not there. And for me, it's time for Trevor to at the bare minimum be the quarterback where people say, are you kidding me? How is he not top? Because you're always going to debate it. You're always going to say, who would you rather have, Jared Goff or Dak Prescott? Well, Jalen Hurts has been to multiple Super Bowls and won one, but he's been on a great roster. Justin Herbert hasn't won a single playoff game, right? So we're always going to have those debates, those conversations. And I went on. A whole rant about how we even rate and rank top 10 quarterbacks and what the criteria is. It's always going to be a moving target. So to me, one of the barometers is, how do people feel about a list like this? And what I always find interesting is which quarterbacks do they hone in on? Do they focus on who's in the top 10, who shouldn't be there, or who was left off? And there's just zero buzz about Trevor. Zero buzz. And that has to change now. That absolutely positively has to change. You have the coach, Liam Cohen. You have the support. And I think you have a roster that at the bare minimum should put you in that position where if you are left off this top 10, people say, Trevor Lawrence has to be there. I'm taking Trevor over Goff or Sam Darnold or whatever. Now that Stafford has retired, Trevor has to be there, whatever it may be. That's how a segment like this lands, because it's really interesting. I'm obviously making a Jaguars video right now, a Trevor Lawrence video, because you guys know I like to do what I can. But I know very well that Jaden, Jalen, Dak, especially all the NFC East teams, are just so popular that there's so much buzz, so much intensity. Even with Jordan Love. But to see Trevor Lawrence and Baker Mayfield kind of sandwiched together where people are like, whatever, that shouldn't be. And you just had an unbelievable season last year. Unbelievable season last year. And people, Colin will talk about, oh, he had a rough beginning but and got hot, and then the playoffs, nothing, which again I disagree with. But the team wasn't supportive enough, and Trevor Lawrence still played really awesome. I mean, 39 drops. 39 drops. 10.3% of his passes were dropped. That's pretty insane. That is insane. And he was pressured through the roof, second most pressures and league leading in drops. That's pretty exhausting as a quarterback, you can't get protected, and your receivers can't catch the ball. Other than that, it's perfect. Just imagine what this team will be able to do, and what Trevor will be able to do, if you can actually protect him and cut those drops in half. You're going to talk about some pretty spectacular numbers. Think about all the drops, and think that he still had 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and 4,000 yards. I'm telling you right now, if you cut those drops in half, you're going to have deep 30-something touchdowns and 4,500 plus yards, because you're going to convert more first downs, you're obviously going to get more production. His completion percentage would get significantly higher. I mean, his adjusted completion percentage was 73.6%, which isn't amazing, needs to be better, but it was 73.6%, ranked 20th. So he also does need to be a little more accurate. Some of the drops were on him for making the wrong types of throws, which I've covered in the past. So it's not all just team failure. He is a contributor. But it's year 2 of continuity with Leah M. Cohen. It's game on. It's game on. So I'm excited to see the momentum moving forward. And for me, it's time to at least enter the conversation where when you're left off a top 10 list, people are at least arguing, what? How is Trevor Lawrence not there? That's ridiculous. And it's just not there yet. So this season, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for, at least for the individual evaluation of Trevor Lawrence. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Trevor not making the top 10, being with this list of quarterbacks, and just the fact that, like I'm saying, there are not people willing to stand bold and say, Trevor's got to be there, this is ridiculous, the way they would for some of the other quarterbacks? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some debates. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, it really helps with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.